Enlightenment is an infinite, constant, and recursive application of the removal of obstruction.
That sounds like a child made that up.
Gen Z, political online subculture.
I was so intoxicated.
We might only be in like 900 to 1100 AD.
Like with impunity.
Fuck you, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I have not had the sensation of hunger for about 3.5 days.
Are all the fucking time periods like just going side by side and like you just choose yours?
You did not know you were signing up for a psychological fucking.
Ride the guardrail on the apex of the turn at top speed.
And I think more people need to pump the brakes. Now the clap has happened. That clap means this is the third installment of the Charismanic podcast. Thank you for joining us once again. A few weeks have passed since our last pod. What has happened has been the holiday season, Christmas, New Year's. We've also been hit with some unprecedented, another wave of COVID. I guess it's not unprecedented if you include the last two variants. However, there are some sort of special things about this one that we hope to get into. Cody, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I love that we're doing this, at the first weekend of the new year. I think it really sets a tone for the continuation of this podcast and really getting some momentum going. It's something that's definitely made us happier people.
Yeah, this is just the beginning. You could obviously see if you're looking at the screen, I'm hitting you with the ASMR neck stretch. Got to get it. 2022, it's going to be a fun fucking time, I think.
People sympathize with you on those neck stretches because I've been getting people coming up to me and talking about
neck.
Yeah, what happened at the House of Blues and is this kid okay?
That sucks.
And they want me to answer them. I'm like, what you heard on the pod is all I know about.
Yeah, I wish I didn't have to. I wish it wasn't visible pain, but it doesn't hurt. It's just agonizing. But we'll get through it. It's been fucking 5 years, but don't worry about it.
Agonizing or aggravating?
Agonizing,
because agonizing pain.
Yeah, agonizing is a good word. I mean, it's agony is just that it's. I mean, I don't remember.
Taunting you.
Yeah, I don't know where the word came from, but it sounds like a hellish word that it just has to be dealt with.
Has to be dealt with. You did a little temporary relief with a little CBD. A
little CBD action.
So hopefully that helps a little bit, but hopefully that tones it down. How was your Christmas?
It was chill. It was low key. Yeah. What did I do? Yeah, it was chill.
Did COVID affect your Christmas at all?
Not at all. No. Yeah, okay. I did have COVID right before you had it, so that was fun. My second go.
That's right. Since the last podcast, I believe. I don't know if you necessarily got hit with Omicron. There's really no way to know at this point in time, but I strongly believe I had it. So I think we both got hit with bouts of COVID. And since then, I have been trying to just educate myself more on the subject, and I think I can honestly say if I knew back then what I know now, I don't think I would have received the vaccinations. And this is something that I really thought a lot about. I'm not in some red or blue camp. I'm just going by what evidence has been put out there. So two of the main reasons for that is I know we bring up Rogan a lot and a couple other podcasts, but we're going to do it again just because they're good talking points. So I've been trying to educate myself, and part of that has been listening to the two doctors that Rogan had on recently. One being Dr. Peter McCullough, who is an MD board-certified cardiologist who's testified before the U.S. and Texas Senate regarding the current treatment of COVID-19. And the other being Dr. Robert Malone, and I'll just give you a brief synopsis of his background. He is the inventor of the original mRNA vaccine patents, originally filed in 1989. He is near 100 peer-reviewed publications cited over 12,000 times. And he is a medical director of the Unity Project, which is a group of organizations which are against mandated COVID vaccines in children. So this doesn't mean necessarily that these people are anti-vax. What this means is there has been a serious effort to subdue or prevent the public from doing a deep dive into the risks of the vaccines, the real risks of the vaccines, not the 1 in a million risks, more like the 1 in 1,000 risks. And 1 in 1,000 is very real. This is not an FDA passable metric. So I've been listening to that, and I heard a fun little fact on there from Dr. Peter McCullough, and he said, I don't know if you've heard this prior to me finding this out, but he said you can't get COVID twice. And I was kind of on my high horse for a while with a couple of friends, and I was like, you can't get it twice. You can't get it twice. But he then contacted Dr. Robert Malone, who came on after, and said, with this Omicron variant, you can get it twice. So what that tells me is that these
a lot
doctors,
of people went for that 4th booster.
But people people are obsessed with the booster, first off. But what that tells me is just the integrity of these doctors is not compromised. They're not over here pushing some opposing agenda to the vaccine just for the sake of pushing an opposing agenda. They want to get the facts straight and get it out to the public. And I highly recommend listening to episode 1747 and also 1757 on Rogan's podcast. So that's how I've been trying to educate myself. They've been very fascinating. It's brought me a lot of comfort, and honestly has armed me with some confidence on like how to combat this stuff in the future. I just hope that our medical system catches up, But, we're not going to try to make this all about COVID or, political reasons and all that. Cody, what have you been up to? You've been up to listening to new pods. I don't know if you've heard the ones that I've mentioned.
Which one?
The
two with Rogan. No, I haven't. I
listen to those?
haven't been into Rogan lately.
Yeah, highly recommend them.
Yeah. I've heard a lot about them. And obviously those are some well-respected doctors that, were dethroned from their positions over the past year and whatnot.
That's true. That was a huge talking point. So Dr. Peter McCullough possibly has been removed from Twitter just due to promoting factual information, and Dr. Robert Malone has also been removed from Twitter and possibly LinkedIn and other social media platforms, just stating what he knows to be true about mRNA vaccines, because he could not be more plugged into that world.
Yeah, I haven't seen those. I've been preoccupied with some other podcasts. This one new podcast that I found this last week absolutely blew my mind into pieces. It's called Contain. Shout out Contain Pod. It's run by this kid Barrett, and it's absolutely insane. Contain. They examined the schizoid nature of our world, to the point that he's had guests on that break it down in a way that can be understood that as such that we don't even live in a society, which just blows your fucking mind into pieces.
You mean a society is in like the traditional definition of what people think a society is?
Well, yeah, what they even imagine they live in.
Instead, what do we live in instead?
Like
in his opinion.
I mean, I didn't finish the episode of the kid who was making that claim because my attention span has just been absolute garbage. Trying to focus on one thing at a time here. I've been really preoccupied. I think I've had too much screen time. Obviously, I didn't make an Instagram until earlier this year when I wanted to follow a bunch of comedians. But now I've kind of branched out into this Gen Z political online subculture that is largely probably the reason why beliefs are held, and presidents and whatnot are elected.
You're saying technology is getting to you?
It's I think it's getting to everybody, but
Well,
yeah,
it's true.
I haven't had time for the JRE pods because I've been on a different frequency that is just as concerning and bubbling up in this age that we all are moving through here. Yeah, it was a pretty schizo weekend.
Yeah, you kind of told me a little bit about that off mic. So why do you think the screen time has been affecting your memory or affecting like how you see the world? Is it due to, I mean, do you fall asleep with podcasts in your ear?
Yeah, I usually do fall asleep with a pop.
Interesting.
I'll put the timer on just so it'll shut off 15, 30 minutes after I close my eyes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But now there's some like I think it's just scrolling through the internet, reading things, trying to retain information, looking at different memes and just you start to feel it in between your eyes where then like this is bad, like like you're destroying some sort of vitamin, mineral, protein synthesis when you feel it when you're looking at a screen to the point that you're like, I have to stop doing this. But then I also like feel it like as like an addiction where it's like, wow, like I have to, but at the same time like this is so intriguing that like I'm not, and I noticed myself not for too long, and then so I kind of struggled with that this weekend. But it was at a time where I also discovered this new podcast. It's just been blowing my mind with like the evolution of language as we know it, or as I know it, and as I see it or believe it as it's coming through the pipes for the rest of us. But yeah, so I mean, I'm glad I got through this weekend. I think it's gonna be a great year for everybody. I think we got a lot of good things in stock for you guys.
Yeah, we're hoping to get some guests on. Let's hope it's going to be a bang up year. My my introduction to this year, I started at a low, so I want to say it's all uphill from here, but recently a friend of mine has pointed out, is that phrase a negative or a positive? And I guess it depends how you define it. If you're riding a bike and it's all uphill from there, it's a negative. If you're negative in the stock market and you see something positive in the future in your investment and you say it's all uphill from here, it's a positive. So I don't know how to use that term, but I'm going to use it as a positive here. I started at a real low point, so I think it's going to be all uphill from here. Just to expand on that, I died New Year's Eve. Not literally, just mentally and physically. So knocking on the door of literally, I was so intoxicated. I was smoking some things. I was doing both of those things, like with impunity. And it's because I had a lot on my mind, Cody. I had a lot on my mind. Cody, let me ask you, what experiences have you had with relationships? Have you ever had your heart broken before?
Oh yeah, it sucks.
How many times?
Just once actually.
One heartbreak. How old were you?
Okay, maybe twice. And it was once I was 21, and the other one I was 27.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good amount of time between different people, I'm assuming.
No, actually.
Same person?
Yeah.
Same person broke your heart twice?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. I thought my story was bad.
It's brutal.
Sorry to hear that. How long did it take you to get over it? What did you do to get over it?
The first time I kind of didn't get over it, I think, and then the second time it was like, wow, this was like all my mistake, and in a messed up way, like this is all my mistake. Like how from the beginning, like, and I still don't even like understand it, but it doesn't bother me like it did the first time around.
Mm-hmm. So once this happened to me, and we'll get into a little bit more detail what happened to me over my weekend, why I went so deep down the rabbit hole of alcohol on New Year's Eve, and then what events have followed that. But it got me thinking about, like, why does your body, like, why does the mechanism of heartbreak exist in your body? So I kind of did a little internet searching and read some articles about it, because I just really want to know. Well, first off, you're really looking for a quicker way to erase it, because it sits with you, and it's a bummer. It kills your sleep patterns, kills your eating patterns. I can honestly say that since New Year's Eve and the events that followed, I have not been hungry. I have not had the sensation of hunger for about 3.5 days. That doesn't mean I haven't eaten. I've been eating like a bird, as in very small portions, just simply for energy levels. But the sensation of being hungry has left my body, and I can't seem to get my mind and my stomach to like communicate. But that's a whole other story. But anyway, the mechanism apparently for heartbreak is that your body has some sort of a has evolved to get worried when you've been exiled by the tribe, quote unquote. And cut to modern day monogamy or whatever, being exiled by some individual person who was important in your life or had the potential to be important in your life. When that happens, your body goes into sort of rogue mode. Your body goes into, I now have to fend for myself mode, and this is going to be very hard. And it just like seemed to just have a striking familiarity. I can't fucking say that word. With everything that I was feeling, and it doesn't get me any closer to solving it, but I just, I was just wondering why it was there. Have you ever wondered why like heartbreak exists? Like because like on a logical level, right? People are logical. Like for the most part, people are logical. So you can go, I like you, you don't like me, therefore I should not like you. But it doesn't work that way. You can't get out of it that simply. It's like you're just trapped in that world of like that clash, that dichotomy of like one person's feelings versus another person's feelings, and it'll never sync up, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, this reminded me of one of the Contain episode I was listening to where one of the guests said that Aristotle understood capitalism, and this was realized by some other philosophical writer of the 20th century, but yeah, there's more like radical philosophies than like Karl Marx and shit. And you see shit like playing out today with like Karl Marx, but then if you observed it through the lens of like this earlier philosophy, like for example, the one that would be more radical than Karl Marx would be like the approach of this dude Francois Rabelais or something. I'm like just starting to look into him, and I can't even like reference what his idea would be, but it's just there's more out there that would be able to explain the phenomenon of heartbreak, because it's really not the heart that's, I mean, well, if you consider what the heart is, it's just there to keep blood pumping throughout the body.
Interesting.
So then why do we say heartbreak?
I think it's probably some. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, why do we say heartbreak when your issue is that you don't have an appetite, which is clearly thyroid, serotonin, dopamine.
Well, yeah. So I was gonna say, I think it's because when that feeling hits you, you feel it in the center of your being, and I think people just sort of naturally gravitated toward like your life force of your heart.
Yeah, it does. That energy, like, it does seem to stop at like the heart chakra where you're like, fuck.
And I think so. Just given that feeling in like your gut, they don't call it stomach ache. It's heartache.
Yeah, it does. It does stop at that heart chakra where you're like, I can't communicate this clearly, but it's also like not like a basic issue.
So I guess I'll just kind of come out and say it. So Dan, beating around the bush, but I can't believe it's making it to the pod. But just to give a little, people go through personal things in their life, and I think one of the reasons, and I think Cody would agree, we started this pod is to help people get through their day and relate and give little nuggets of information and try to relate to people and just promote the human experience. And part of that is going through things like this. So long story short, again, not many details, don't want to throw people's lives out there, but I knew someone I was semi-seeing on like a weekly basis for just like 2 months. We had sort of an open relationship, fine, we weren't getting serious, and it hit me out of nowhere that how much I liked that person. And it hit me, I mean, out of nowhere, where you just start thinking about them more and more, and you get excited for the future potential in like seeing them in your future. And that also contrasted with going into a new year is very symbolic, and you're like, wow, is this like a new year with somebody new, and you're about to have all these new experiences with them, and like, oh my, it's so exciting, or it has the potential to be exciting. And then the text messages kind of stop responding, and you don't get like as much enthusiasm anymore, and something's wrong. And that's when I went into self-destruct mode on New Year's Eve, and I just like wanted to forget about it. And I just want to give a shout out to my friends. First off, shout out to Sean and Carly for hosting a banger of a Halloween party. New Year's Eve party. Also a Halloween party. That was the past. And also shout out specifically to my buddy Sean for saving me that night. I mean, I was messed up to the point where head on the table, couldn't feel anything. So I guess mission accomplished on the not feeling anything. And just, vomiting and shaking and on a roller coaster for 6 hours, essentially, that you cannot get off of. It's the worst. The spins, people know what I'm talking about.
And you can ingest a serious amount of alcohol too.
I'm a drinker.
I've seen Rich ingest some concerning amounts of alcohol.
We've been to Tampa.
Seem unfazed.
Yes, that's right. It's, in fact, it's kind of legendary at this point.
It is
not
legendary.
To toot my own horn, but it's been said. I think I went through a bottle of champagne, several tumblers of rum, a couple of shots. I had what was the last couple of drinks? There was another couple of hard alcohol drinks, couple shots of tequila peppered in, and then it's really just smoking joints with impunity. I'll just say it. Just keep passing it. And I got through a lot of the night. I made it to about 1 a.m. After that, it was all downhill from there, to use that term as a negative. Okay, so I felt that, and then the next day, I contact this person, and they are down to meet up. I'm like, okay, that was for nothing. Shrug that night off. Let me come home from New Hampshire, kind of specifically to meet this person. I come home, me and this person have a fun little like hangout night, comfy clothes and pizza, and I then present a couple of Christmas gifts that I just thought this person deserved in my life. It's a new year, I'm excited. I go to put on like maybe a TV show, as people do, when they're on stay-at-home dates after seeing each other for a while. And then comes the talk. Oh, the talk. Just the turn, the pause, and we got to, I got something to say right now, and you go, this isn't going to be good, and then proceeds to just give me I know how you feel about me, and I do not feel the same way about you, and that's that. So
you let her know you were a little excited before this New Year's Eve party? Or in the week coming or whatever?
I think this is a kind of classic or maybe a stereotypical talking point of like why men are cold, or maybe even why women are cold too. I guess I just mean for people, not necessarily sex related, but is that people tend to, it's kind of they want to be the thrill of the chase. They want to be in the thrill of the chase, and they don't and once they've accomplished that, they pull back. They go, oh, they like me. It's like it's too soon for them to like me, so it's no longer interesting to them. Of course, you know, a couple that's followed up with, although, you know, you're a great person, you're amazing, blah blah blah, there's something that they don't like about you, and I'll never know what that is. I'll never know. It's not like it could lead into, do I need to work out more? Do I not have enough money? Is it due to my attitude towards, is my political leanings? Is it, like, what is it? It's just, you'll never get information. You'll never get a satisfied answer. So, sorry, what was your question?
I was saying, so you communicated to her somehow.
Yes. Okay. So right.
You were a little excited.
I think I kind of did that stuff a little too early. Now, I wasn't spazzing out about it. I just, you know, it would be like, I'd say something like you got me, girl. Like, you know, give her like a wink, 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 nudge, nudge, or something like that. And I think that was a little bit too much, and I don't think she was looking for that. And then, you know, she drops a little 1-2 punch of, I'm dating someone else. You know, I've already been with them, as in hooked up with them. And I'm like, oof, like, okay, like, I thought we were kind of doing that, but I guess that's done. And then, okay, take your gifts and have a nice night. You know, it's no, bye. You know, here's the door. Take a step out of my life, and it sucks. It just sucks because it's like things were good. Things were on track to be even better, and you never know what's going to happen. I don't want to dwell on that too much, but I will go into something that caught my eye today, actually, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Jordan Peterson, who I think is, I want to say, a national treasure, but it's really a worldly treasure at this point. If you don't know who he is, ladies and gentlemen, please look up Jordan Peterson. Of course, he's been on Rogan. He's a top-tier psychologist and I believe psychotherapist. And there was a little clip of him just on YouTube today. Just the algorithm got me, and there was a little clip of him, and he said, he was talking about agreeable and disagreeable. And the title of the YouTube video, the clip I saw, is "Guys Are Too Nice, Good Luck." And that's on YouTube. And the long and short of it is when is it good to be a tame man, and when do you carve your own ways with minimal concern for the other person? And I think the reason this sort of event or this heartbreak kind of shook me a little bit more than expected, or much more than expected, was because for the last year and a half prior to this, I had minimal I was the disagreeable man, which he's actually kind of an advocate for, because he goes into how that actually solves problems. Because agreeable people is kind of, I think, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but there's a parallel with the more you agree with someone, the more you submit to someone, right? If you're constantly agreeing to whatever the other wants to do, in a way, that's submitting to what they want to do. Yeah. Being disagreeable is sort of empowering, and then you go your way. So I was being disagreeable as far as wanting to do my own thing and playing the field and living it up. And I think that's what she's doing now. So, and I think that's what she wanted to do. Now, because I enjoyed her company, the agreeableness in me came out. The agreeableness wanted to submit to her, and that was a turnoff. That's a no-no. So I think that's why people get these hard outer shells and become tough to date and become cold and unreadable in the future to future people that they are dating, and they never know what somebody else is thinking. And it's because they've been through many of these experiences, and they don't want to get their hopes up anymore. So I just thought that was just an interesting observation. But time heals all wounds, and that's just what happened. It is what it is now, It is what it is. So, if you have any questions about that, write in, let us know your heartbreak stories. Just kidding. I don't care. I'm now disagreeable. Time to hit the gym, baby. Cody.
Yeah.
You've had visions of God recently.
Yeah. It was a real schizophrenic weekend, man. I was alone for New Year's Eve. Just chilled in. Didn't really socialize. Made a few beats. Played a few games. Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Can we get a little beat sample on this? By the way, seriously write in and tell Cody how absolutely fire the intros to these podcasts have been, because I think they're unbelievable.
It's fun making those. I'm looking forward to making this one.
I'm just going to say it right here. Guys, comment on our Instagram, subscribe to our Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube, comment on the YouTube videos if you like the beats. Hopefully Cody can do a little sampler and cut that in at this moment, or in the beginning of this podcast, or at the end of this podcast, whichever he prefers. But sorry, continue. So you're making beats.
Yeah, no. So I was, and yeah, it was just, I ended up just going to bed shortly after midnight or whatever, New Year's. Home alone, fucking all weekend. I didn't really go out until like last night. I finally just was like, I gotta get out of the fucking house. I went for a long walk, and this was just like toggling between like podcasts that were like catching my attention, but also like then destroying my ability to stay focused. So like I would listen to like a podcast for like 20 minutes until like my ADD kicked in and my memory was gone, and then I would be like, okay, now I have to switch to this other podcast or this other guest on this same podcast, and I'm like going back and forth between like, like the we don't live in a society, but then back into like this guest. There was this one guest. This kid was human trafficked. There's this human trafficking cult. They're still going on out there, and they're a very small group, but they work by like
cult or criminals.
Yeah, well, this one's they're outwardly a cult. They call themselves a cult.
Ghislaine Maxwell?
No.
Talk about Ghislaine.
Yeah, not talking about Ghislaine, but yeah. So it's just these two weird people like. It's insane how cults evolve over time. Like obviously the fucking Manson thing. You look back and then it's like, wait, was that all CIA? And then you see like a cult today, and there's no sign of the CIA or anything like that. But you're thinking like, wait a minute, like, could there be like glimpses of the CIA or fucking secret societies, fraternities, like conducting these? And so like now, and then I'm like, fuck, I can't listen to this podcast anymore. I go back to the other one. I'm like, yeah, we don't live in a society, or like, oh, like this. There was a really great quote. There was a really great quote.
Wicked great.
There was a great quote from one of them that wasn't as skitzed. There was this Asian kid who was really smart, and he was talking about like a Taoist mafia, which is interesting. Imagine
Chinese mob.
Yeah, but a religious mob. So like, imagine a communist
religious
country.
Chinese mob sounds like the most terrifying thing.
Yeah, imagine. Then that's going on. So like, you got China. What is it? COFCO. I think COFCO is like their biggest, food processor, exporter, or whatever.
Before we get too far, hold that thought. I just want to make a silly little observation. What's the difference between Ghislaine Maxwell and this can of mango seltzer?
I don't know.
Give up.
Yeah.
This mango seltzer is guilt-free.
Oh, she's only got one charge. She's not too guilty. She got away with one charge.
You're all laughing at home. Okay, you're talking about China controlling the food. Go.
Well, yeah. So there's that COFCO in China, and they've recently started to just like not fucking ship food around like even their own country. But this is like a $700 billion like food company. So that's not just affecting China, but it's also affecting other countries. I'm not sure if it might be affecting the U.S.
If everyone in China pays $1.
Yeah, right.
700.
Well, they'd have to pay.
Just kidding.
Maybe $100, but.
Yep.
But damn, like imagine like a communist country with a religious mafia, and a religion that's arguably more advanced than Catholicism and Judaism. I'm sorry, we can't mention the Jews anymore. But so in this podcast,
coincidence.
They were. This Asian kid, he analyzed like the flaws in like Catholicism, and if you think of Catholicism, the main flaw is that we don't know who the Godhead is that is controlling the organization, the fraternal organization of Catholicism or Protestantism or whatever. You know what I mean?
But do you believe that they reside in the Vatican?
I don't
Like, how close is that person related to the Pope?
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, I mean, I don't know, but like from the test of time, like, Catholicism, Protestantism, whatever, like if you're believing in like God and Jesus and Mary and all that, then like your only issue at the top is like who's giving you this information. Whereas like with Taoism, they're built on a philosophy that basically says like just a singularity and non-duality.
So
their whole philosophy is like
is it safe
a supercomputer.
Okay, is it safe to say Catholicism, it is unclear whether or not that religion is based off of love or if it's based off of control. You do not know. I guess that's a fair way to put it. That's the never-ending discussion or contradicting.
Yeah, you don't know if it's based on capitalism or communism.
Okay, I'm just going to use love and control.
Yeah.
Because those have political kind of associations, and this I think goes back before political parties were even like really established. So, but you're saying definitely China is not only based on control but based off an agenda.
Well, imagine you're just a religious man and you have this business, and then the U.S. is just working on fake money and they're so in debt, and you're high up in this business that has these relationships with this country that its economy is just absolutely schizo right now. Nobody knows what the economy is about to do, but you could be sure as shit that they're going to try to just print more money again going forward, or either that or tax these other companies that they have or other countries that we have relations with. And so these holy men in positions of power and these corporations in China or whatever, they're just like, okay, let me just get my shit together. Let me just let me just make sure my family's good, my lineage is good. Let me make a few modifications in the trade or whatever, and let's make sure that our immediate state is good before we start worrying about the rest of the country and then the rest of the world.
Well, again, is it a natural human response to be in a position of power and immediately secure your nuclear family and extended family or what have you, immediately secure your loved ones? Is that a natural human response that overwrites securing everyone else for the betterment of their good, even if it's to a detriment of my good? I think it is. I think it's a natural response to be like, if you have all the money, and I'm just using that as an exaggeration, if you have all the money, you keep all that money in your lineage. You keep all that money in your family. And then the second thought is like, okay, how do I improve others' way of life? Or maybe that's not even a concern to you. And it sounds like more and more, both with the U.S. and China's open about. I mean, the dirty secret that I think many people are learning in recent years, and if not months, is that the U.S. is really leaning on its past laws and regulations to keep its population afloat, but it has no interest in improving upon those laws and regulations to lift up its population. And that has never been more apparent by the growing chasm in the middle class. I mean, you're now looking at, is someone rich or is someone considered poor? Like, can someone buy your whole city block, and can someone afford a condo in a rural area? Like, the chasm is growing and growing. Now, as far as China goes, I don't really know how they do business over there, but they definitely have a lot of control and influence on this side of the pond.
Yep, and their $700 food company Kofco is seemingly at siege with the places that it was recently doing business with, whether that's a malevolent effort or it's their own benevolence for taking care of their loved ones. Time will tell. There was an awesome quote that Asian kid had though, from that episode of Contain I was listening to. The kid that was talking about the Taoist mafia, and the quote was on enlightenment, and it was amazing. It's enlightenment is an infinite, constant, and recursive application of the removal of obstruction. Like, I'll say that. I'll say it one more time.
Say it again.
Enlightenment is an infinite, constant, and recursive application of the removal of obstruction. So,
And what does that mean to you? Want to break that down? Break it down.
I mean, it means to me that like we can all be enlightened. You can't govern a soul with an unconscious science if you don't have the soul, but you can govern a soul with an unconscious science. And I think that's more of like a Rabelaisian approach, which would be more radical than Marxist philosophy, which seems to permeate a lot of people's minds today when they're frustrated with these political.
I hear that being tossed out a lot. It's Marxist, it's socialism.
Yeah,
it's
and I don't even think people really understand
they
what they're
don't
talking about.
understand. I don't going to say I
Yeah.
understand it, but I know they don't understand it.
Yeah. But like, I mean, getting into that Contain podcast, it's making me want to pick up like a book, and I don't know whether to pick up like the Bible or capitalist realism first, because like
I know Michael Malice has a lot of good talking points on it. Yeah. But I mean, that would be through his filter. But I don't think he's not looking to. He might maybe. I mean, he's like a self-proclaimed anarchist, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, he had a good pod with Yarvin that I was listening to a couple weeks ago. I forget most of the content at this point.
Yeah, I mean that's another. There's so much information now out there with podcasts. Probably even this one. I mean, things just get lost in the ether. So we hope to keep you guys entertained, so you keep coming back. But you got to keep cranking them out. You got to keep cranking out the episodes and just stay relevant, stay on the tip of the spear. However, you had mentioned that quote, and the turmoil of kind of current day society, and it also bleeds into China's not only controlling power and influence and money, they're controlling technology. And you see some of this with the whole kind of TikTok controversy that happened, a year or 2 years ago, and then supposedly was smoothed over due to an American corporation heading TikTok for the Northeast. I don't know how it worked. But
so they're controlling technology like to the degree that we allow them to, or that we
North
cooperate
America is
with
what I meant to
them.
say.
Like we don't need phones, but we have them now, and like for everybody to just live without their phone would be almost an unbearable task for so many people. But like I don't know who's to initiate that or what, but yeah, like I don't think they control tech. I mean, they control some technology, but we work with them to control like the ultimate technology of our assembly into a future.
And they have influence over content, and they have influence over the American way of life.
Hollywood, all that.
Yeah, Hollywood. I mean, there's the John Cena apology. Rogan brings that up a lot. That is wild, where he just basically said, Taiwan, I love Taiwan, or I can't wait to visit the Taiwanese people. And China's like, what? Like, what's Taiwan? And then in perfect Mandarin, John Cena then apologizes to the country of China. But that feeds into tech dividing this country, and there's lots of evidence showing Russia's influence and China's influence, and a lot of these profiles that are created online with not very intelligent, but intelligent enough arguments that are posted leaning toward one side of the political spectrum or the other. And many of these things, folks, I mean, you see 10,000 comments on somebody's post, and 3,000 of them are for it and another 3,000 of them against it. Well, guess what? Those are bots. The vast majority of those posts that you think are people taking time out of their day to type these characters and comment on this and comment their opinion on this, whatever scenario you're looking at in your feed, is not real. They're not real people, or they are real people getting paid by a foreign government to post that just because it promotes division.
Maybe not the vast majority, but
I think the majority, because I don't think people care as much about social media as people think people care about social media. That has been a latest revelation of mine. I think I know social media is big. But it's like it's hard to you put percentages on things. If you said 20% of the United States of America cared about social media, that's 20% of 350 million people. So call it 25%. And that's just under 100 million people, right? That's like, it's not like 80 million or something. Just quick math here. So, like, 80 million interactions online, and you being plugged into that, it looks infinite and forever. But that's only 20% of people. It's like, I don't think that there's as much hype about social media as people think there is, just due to so many of these bots on Twitter and on Instagram. I want to play something again, Rogan's pod, but it's something that doesn't have to do with a psychologist or a doctor. But Ari Shaffir is a comedian that we love, that we saw at Skankfest. And we'd love to see again sometime. I saw him at the Wilbur Theater about a year and a half ago. I hope he comes back around, although he did just come back around. I could not go to that show, but I hope to see him again sometime soon. And he's just, they were just bullshitting on the pod as we're doing now. And he said something that really struck a chord with me, and I'm going to play it right now. And it just has to do with where we are with the current state of tech and sentiments toward that. So I'm just going to play that right now.
To do nothing. You're just filling us all with anxiety and fear.
You're right.
For nothing.
But you understand.
You're not an activist. You're ruining everybody's life.
You understand why, if everybody accepts that definition, they actually think they are, because they get involved in social issues and they spread emails and they, have meetings or whatever.
I get it, but you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. Everyone's less happy. Everybody out there is less happy, and everybody feels it. They're doing it wrong. Make them do it right, so we're not all fucking hating our brothers. It's dumb. It's clearly fucking us all up.
It is, but it's
everybody's at each other's throats. It's terrible, and they're doing it. Stop it. You can't do that shit. None of us signed up for that. It's bullshit. We all feel less happy. All of us. Tell me I'm wrong. From 10 years ago to now.
But what do you suggest?
I'm saying they're hurting all of us. We didn't give permission to do that.
In what way?
We're in there hating each other. The way we turn against our...
I just want to reiterate what he just last said, which is the thing that resonated the most with me is, and Cody, please feel free to comment on this, was we did not give them permission to do that. I just got goosebumps saying it out loud. There are entities at play on this little device you look at every day where your permissions have been taken away from you. I know this goes more than just the privacy thing. It goes into, like, you did not know you were signing up for a psychological fucking. And that's what's going on now with many people, and people don't know how to handle it. People don't have the mental capacity to handle it. Like, I think people who live in cities get a little high up on, like, their intellectual abilities, and maybe they understand what's going on, but there's a lot of people out there that I'm not saying it's like a dumb versus smart thing. I'm just saying and I think I've kind of said this on other podcasts, it's like we shouldn't expect the person who wants to do a simplistic task every day, of maybe it's a blue collar thing or a blue collar task, to understand what's going on, because they're just going to have a simple view of one side or the other and go with the first opinion or what have you, because they're not equipped to deal with this. And by the way, we're all not really equipped to deal with this, to be honest with you. I'm just going to let this play a little bit more. Cody, you want to chime in?
No, go for it.
Neighbors now. That's all new. The way we're like, I don't talk to my mom anywhere because she voted this way. That's crazy.
Right.
That was never a thing. They're doing that to us. And we signed up under the idea that we're sharing pictures of our fucking food, and then they turned each other on each other.
Wait,
It's awful.
you eat your bloody shit?
Okay, I'll stop it there. The people have turned people on each other in and I don't know if you call it a violent way, but it's sort of, it's anxiety driven. It's emotionally, your emotional buttons, your emotional system has been hijacked. And I think people need to really take a big step back from not only social media, but the way social media is run needs to have more of a council of people that have the best intentions for the product, the best intentions for the subjects of the product. And that's just, I don't want to go too long on this subject because, people kind of know this or aware of this, or if you weren't aware of this, maybe now you are, hopefully. But that's how I feel about it. In what ways, Cody, do you think modern day media and or social media, it's not only social media, it's just media as well, has negatively influenced your family or people that you care about, friends?
I'm not sure it's exactly negative, but it's definitely in a major way. And the way I see it is like, like our parents, like all they knew was like, conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican, and still to this day, like, like my parents, they hear what they hear from Fox News or whatever, and my dad's just like, oh, it's the fucking Democrats, you know what I mean? If everybody was Republican, everything would be all right. And it's like nowadays, like we have way more than just conservative and liberal. Now we have, and that's why I was going so crazy lately with like the Gen Z political online subculture, because like there are a lot of people out there that aren't bots, and like they're growing up in this world, and they're interacting with each other, and they're spreading these memes, and they're building these personas. They're
and interacting with the bots unknowingly.
And interacting with the bots unknowingly, yeah. And they're cultivating these identities, and they're acting. This is karma. This is life. Like they're doing things in reality that are way more complex than just like, even like Marxism. You know what I mean? It's like, and like, I just want to fucking pick up a book and just start fucking studying this shit, because like it's gonna play out, and I feel like I think it's
books don't yell at you. Books talk to you.
Yeah. Because like the way I see it is like it's gonna play out, and like I don't think we're gonna get a handle on this. I think our next hope to get a handle on this sort of thing is that Gen Z online political subculture that seems so black-pilled at this point. So I'm not sure it's a negative thing that it's in a way that technology has influenced my life and my family and whatnot, and everybody that I know, because there's this old like proverb or whatever. I think it was like a Buddhist thing or whatever, and like the guy's son he was like drafted, and then he and then so the neighbor comes to his house, and he's like, oh, like like isn't that terrible? Like your son got drafted, and the monk farm or whatever, he's just like, oh, I don't know, who knows? And then so he lost his leg. He comes back or whatever, and he's like riding a horse or something, and like, oh no, sorry, my bad. Yeah, that's how it happened. He lost his leg riding the horse or whatever.
I'd imagine.
And then they
riding a horse with one leg is very
no, yeah, all right. So I turned that around, right? He so he broke his leg riding a horse or whatever, and the neighbor's like, oh, like isn't that terrible? Like he fucking broke his leg, and then he was like, oh, who knows? Like, and then like the draft officer came by the next day or whatever, and he's like, all right, we're here to take your son to war. And he's like, oh, well, he's got a broken leg. And then the guy was like, oh, like, isn't that great? Like, he didn't have to get drafted because he fucking his leg was broken. And then like the next day, like, I don't know, he like died or some shit. But like, who knows like what's good or what's bad, because like there's more to come, and like we haven't accounted for like everything to come. And so like like as hard as it is, like, because nobody, you know, even my generation, like, you know, like none of my friends are like researching online political Gen Z subcultures. Like that's just that's just that sentence would sound disgusting to them. They don't want to know that that's real. And like I have the I guess will to like that drives me to want to pick up a book and start reading, and like that's something I would be able to like actually study and retain in a way that like I do believe that's the future, and I'm going in that direction because I just, it seems to be like the last frontier or the latest frontier.
Let me know if you agree with this. Possibly what it sounds like you're doing is fortifying your position. You're fortifying your mental position on life because of what you've seen in your past experiences, and you're sort of you're talking about arming yourself with knowledge. You're talking about reinforcing your mind with real world knowledge or past knowledge that is locked away in books that many people know about. I'm not saying that that people don't read books, but people don't. There's, you know, it's very divided out there. I mean, your people just, you know, spew out information, and then there are experts on that information. By the way, I have to now digress and say we are not experts on any of this information, but
yet
we hope to be. Yeah, exactly. Yet we hope to be, and we hope to, you know, bring up interesting factual topics. And I mean that's why we kind of maybe lean into the direction of some Rogan clips, because they're just simply experts talking about their field. There's not an agenda.
Relatable.
Yes. But arming yourself with knowledge. So people are not doing that. Okay? So they're being carried by the media / social media river, and whatever delta or whatever fork in the river splits is the way they flow. And they're not arming themselves with the ability to create their own path, or to create maybe the better path for humanity. It starts with creating the better path for yourself, and then it eventually all feeds into, just like a river, the better path for humanity. But right now, the river is being controlled. The river is being controlled by the amount of information that's being pumped into people's skulls. And for the audio listeners, I pointed to a skull on the table. It's not a real skull. I got it from Home Goods. Good deal. Anyway, and I think more people need to pump the brakes, pick up a book, or arm themselves with some, not necessarily, it doesn't have to be a book, obviously we're in modern age, you know, audiobooks, blah, 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 and arm themselves with some sort of knowledge, because the world has seen this before in some capacity. It's not like, I don't mean they've seen it before in specific ways, like some infinite universe loop, although that's another topic for another day. Cody's nightmares. But I mean they've seen it in some capacity as far as a playbook has been written in humanity, and the reaction of humans towards other humans doing things has been recorded, and it's has been recorded from the times books have been invented, or, you know, printing has been available to the masses. So arm yourself. We're saying arm yourself with knowledge, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll try to do a little bit of that for you as well. We're coming up here on 58 minutes, probably a little less than that because we killed some time with the audio stream and video kind of syncing. So we probably got another 5 to 10 minutes left here. Code. Any other topics?
Cliff High. I was listening to Cliff High.
Yeah.
I know he's a little skitzed, but he put up a pretty good argument that we might only be in like 900 to 1100 AD. Where
did you hear this?
His name is Cliff High. He used to run on YouTube, but now he's only on BitChute.
Did he get banned from YouTube?
I don't know if he might have got shadow banned or something like. Yeah, maybe. But he still has his old videos up, but he hasn't posted in like 8 months. But anyway, it was like and you might think like, oh no, you could just look at the trees and tell how many years like we've been alive, and it's like no. They would have accounted for the carbon dating of the trees, like these fraternal organizations that he was talking about coming together and working, and then I found this random meme that I thought was kind of funny, and it was like in the style of like that we believe in science and all that,
For
and it
the
was
audio listeners, what does it say?
It's so it says, in this house we believe an evil black scientist by the name of Yakub, living on the Isle of Patmos, created the white race 6,000 years ago by means of eugenics. And I didn't realize this was a thing that people believed in, but I guess it started in like the 1930s. I think it was called like the Nation of Islam or something, but it was established in the U.S. back in the 30s. And I don't know, that had no significance to the Cliff High thing, but it's just insane that there's these like it makes you wonder. It makes you like ride the guardrail on the apex of the turn, like getting so close to the guardrail at top speed that you're like time is not linear. Like, it's not linear. So are all the fucking time periods like just going side by side, and like you just choose yours and you just like drown out the others? Like, maybe.
Well, time is linear as far as your perception of time can only be linear. If you're saying we cannot perceive something that is, we can't perceive a time that exists that is indeed nonlinear, then that's, I think, a different issue, right? You can only perceive time as linear. So
yeah.
If time is indeed nonlinear,
Well, I mean, no, I don't, because you could perceive it more than that. I mean, you can only experience, your life from beginning to end, but there's no like law that says, there's no physical law that says that time isn't going backwards. Like, there's no reference point for that. You just see the life from beginning to end.
But then that just means going backwards is the new going forwards. Right?
Yeah. But then, like, what's parallel to that? Like why are we...
What is parallel to
like,
that?
Why are we in our third eyes and not, like, over there?
It has something... There are answers out there, because we do know that time does weird stuff as you approach a black hole, and time.
Yeah,
does
but that's
cease.
Neil deGrasse Tyson shit.
Well, why we know that though. That can be proven due to physics.
Neil deGrasse Tyson. There's some funny memes.
I don't
about
think it's
him.
just Neil.
No, I know.
I don't think this has been said before.
But it's like,
I mean, it's also probably been said by wheelchair physicist.
There's a good picture in it. There's a good picture that spans like 7 years of tweets from Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he says the same thing.
Stephen Hawking.
No, well, Neil deGrasse. There's a picture like 7 tweets over like the course of like 8 years, and it's Neil deGrasse Tyson. He said, in a mirror, you can only kiss yourself on the lips. He said this like 7 or 8 times over the course of a decade. Like, but I mean, this is a guy who's
sexy man lips. What are we gonna do? He's obsessed with his lips.
He just defiled Carl Sagan's spot.
He defiled? You really?
He millennialized it. Yeah.
You don't think he picked up the ball and ran with it?
Because
he
might.
Been nobody else on this planet that has even tried to do that.
I mean, one would hope. One can only hope.
What is your issue with him? He's too woo woo.
No, I don't really have an issue. It was just like, like when you watch these television programs that are talking about like the end of time and shit, and you're like, all right, yeah, well, I'm sitting here in front of a TV, like it's very likely that like they were using Caesar technology to move rocks and shit back in the day when they were like moving these rocks and shit. Like there's, if you like
talking about pyramid shit,
yeah, like pyramids and shit. Like yeah. So like there's like, there's this.
It's unknown.
Well, yeah, there's this one like I forget his title or whatever, but he's like studying this shit, and like it, like the layout of the land looks like like a semiconductor, or it looks like a motherboard. It looks like it contains semiconductors. Also, the stones that they were using were quartz, which is 99% silica. And so, like, yeah, all the signs are there that they were just using Caesar technology, which is laser technology but with sound, site.
That sounds like a child made that up.
No, because
This is a laser, but with sound. What should we call it?
Laser stands for light
Sazer?
amplified,
Okay.
something,
I know, all right.
whatever radiation. But it's just that with sound, and it's like, dude, if they're building motherboards, like
This is a laser, but with fire. What should we call it? A phaser.
yeah. But like, dude, we're out here like building motherboards and like, like planting gods in different sections of the cosmos, and then you're gonna sit me down in front of a television and tell me Neil deGrasse Tyson is just telling me that we don't know what's out there. I'm like, fuck you, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I created this world, and I give you privilege to live in it.
These are not my sentiments, but my podcast partner in his own time is saying those words. He will say that.
Fuck Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I think that's a good kind of note to go out on.
Yeah,
leave people feeling good about their day. And guys, a couple of developments. Let's just talk about the pod itself. Cody has been working hard and got us posted on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and a bunch of other feeds. So, I think a lot of podcast hosts find us on those platforms, and also wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.
Should be wherever you need it.
Yep.
Castbox, Overcast, all that shit. So
far
if
as
it's
the
not,
audio goes, yep.
if it's not, just email charismanicpod@gmail.com. But I'm pretty sure we got all the bases covered.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We do want to hear from you if that's something. If you want to interact with us, we'd love to, start doing some interactions. Obviously, if it gets crazy, we can't get to everything, but we're throwing it out there now. charismanic pod @gmail.com. It's Charismanic Pod, and DM us on Instagram at Charismanic Pod, and comment on the YouTube. If you are only listening, feel free to throw us up on YouTube sometime and get a little audio experience. That's something that a lot of podcasts that I watch, people say listen to, but I watch them, have said, which is, I know Tim Dillon has commented on it, where he doesn't get the numbers he gets like when he does a YouTube, and people all want to just see him talk, and it's stupid. It's stupid from the point of, you're sitting there with a mic in your hand, there's nothing, what's to see? Like, I'm not fucking spinning a basketball or standing on my head, we're just talking, right? So, but he does better numbers when he just does that, because people just kind of want that visual experience.
Well, also, those are free. He doesn't do videos on the paid episode.
That's true, but he just made a comment about the responses, or the interactions as far as those go, and a couple other, I think Mark Norman has said some things about it, and Sam Morrell. But anyway, like and subscribe, share if you like what we're doing. I feel comfortable to put a bow on this third episode. We'll be coming back at you soon. Cody, anything else to add?
Nothing at all. I don't think. But yeah, fucking love you guys.
We do love you guys.
We're going head first into the sun, and we're taking you with us.
Hell yeah! Thank you for supporting. Peace.
Fuck you, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I have not had the sensation of hunger for about 3.5 days.
Are all the fucking time periods like just going side by side, and like you just choose yours?
You did not know you were signing up for a psychological fuck.
Everybody
Ride the
knows
guardrail
real thing
on
here.
the apex of the turn
knows
at
the
top
real thing
speed.
when
And I think more people need
Everybody knows
to
the real
pump the
deal.
brakes.
Subculture.